Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lessons in Product Management. I'm your host, John Fontenot, and today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Path to Product. Path to Product helps aspiring product managers gain the product management experience that they need to land their first product management role. If you're looking to get into product management, click the link in the show notes and get started at pathtoproduct.io. And today we get to learn from Nico Espindola, product manager based out of Argentina. And Nico has a lot of great experiences with team building and building cohesive teams that function and operate really well. And so I wanted to bring Nico onto the podcast to share what he's learned and what he does to build cohesive, high functioning product teams. This is Lessons in Product Management. Let's get started.
So, Nico, before we get started, man, could you give a brief introduction of yourself and what you're doing today in product?
Yes. Okay. Hi, John. Thanks for this episode. I am very nervous, and also I'm very glad to be here with you. I am Nico. I live in Argentina. I have 29 years old, and I work in product for like 7 years. I think this year will be 7 years. I am actually a product manager in a Costa Rica startup that is developing some fintech products for uh, South and Central America, and I think it's a very important to have podcasts to talk about product. Yes, we have a lot of all the topics, and product is important because there are so much things to learn, and to also to show, and to talk, and to tell to the people. So I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have you. So, Nico, today we wanted to talk about team building, and I'm really excited to get your thoughts around this, having spent 7 years in product and seen different dynamics of teams. But to kind of lay the foundation, how would you describe or define what team building means to you?
Okay, very good question. For me, team building it's a process, but it's not an static process. It's a constant process for you as a product manager or product leader. You have to be all the time thinking and participating in team building process, and that is to let the people have their spaces to work, to give their part, for example in coding, for example in design, for example in quality assurance, marketing, and all that. But it's a process to join the people in a same vision, in the same strategy, in the same objectives. For example, OKRs, definition of that, all the things that in product are very common. So I think it's a process that we don't have to see it like, okay, I am doing team building, and I schedule a meeting for tomorrow, for example, or next Monday, and anything else. No, you have to be in a constant process of developing that uh, team building, that uh, conf- I don't know how to say it, like the team align it to a strategy, like I said, a vision, or any of that.
Yeah, I love that. I agree that a solid foundation for team building is understanding how to operate as a team and then making sure that the operation of that team is aligned to that thing that's bigger than execution, right? So the strategy, the OKRs, the vision. I think that's really key. In your experience, Nico, I guess whether it's from onboarding new employees or team members or you joining a new team, what have you found that works effectively to start building towards this, team collaboration and alignment?
Okay. Yes, there are many things to do. And here nowadays we have a lot of tools. For example, tools to do collaborating work in a virtual way. We have a lot of of tools that allows us to do that type of things. But I think that the first part for me is to uh, take take the time to know everyone on your team, and to know, for me, it's a very personal feeling, but I think it's not knowing the name and the name of her or of his cat, for example. No, to say it in a way, you have to know what that person likes, what he dislikes, what is, for example, its favorite movie, what is his favorite or less favorite book, what is the way that they work. They are like very methodic, and they document everything, and they share it, or they want to focus and to be alone, and to develop, and later uh, share the pull request, for example, if we talk about depths. But as a product manager or a product leader, you have to take time to know the people in your team. In the two examples that you say, if you are entering a new startup company in a new team, or if you are a product manager and some new people starts in your team, you have to take time to know the people and to know everything about them. And maybe you can say, or some more of the people that are here in this podcast, maybe they think, but what is the importance of knowing the book or the favorite movie? It's maybe it's not important for the release, maybe it's not it's important for the sprint, or the framework they are using, but it's important for team building, for knowing each other. And in that way, with time, everyone in the team will be aligned to strategy, vision, objectives, definition of done, and all that. That is the first point. And the second point, I think, is to embrace those who think differently as you. Yeah, we as product managers, product leaders, we more, okay, sometimes, maybe it's all the time, you have to we have to be representing our team, and we have to transmit them, for example, the objectives that the stakeholders are expecting, the metrics, the revenue, the usability, the daily active users, and all that. So maybe someone in your team, maybe him or her can say, okay, but I am not, I don't agree with you. This metric, for example, is not good for me because I work it in some place that it doesn't work because that and all, and this. So for team building and for knowing your team, you have to embrace people that think differently, and you have to embrace that in a way that the people feel, they feel that you are listening to them. It's not okay, you think differently and you make them aside. No, for example, if we were in the office, or we no, okay, these people think differently, but that type of thoughts, that type of vision that people have will be excellent, for example, in the future when the OKRs are not progressing, for example, because that people will say, okay, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. So it's important to embrace, and also, to finish this question, you have to be especially looking, especially for everyone else in the team, because sometimes the people that think differently in other people, they don't feel well with that. So you have to, like the example, no, that product managers, I like octopus with the tentacles in in every part. You have to be very careful with this, so that that different type of thoughts, of thinking, it's good for everyone.
Yeah. No, I love the 2 points you make because they work really well together. Where in the first part, if you treat your coworkers or your direct reports as people and not just workers who get a job done, right? And you actually build a relationship with them. It goes against like traditional management philosophy, I think, but
Yeah.
it's true that we're people first who do a job, right? And so when you build that relationship with people, it helps you to be able to perform your job better and create that alignment. It gives you better opportunity to create the alignment, like you had said. And then as you learn people and who they are as people, then you start seeing how they think differently outside of work, which allows
Yeah.
you to understand that they bring a new perspective into work. And so when they have different ideas than you, it's not because they don't like you or they think you're not smart or whatever.
It's not
It
personal. It's not
it's not.
personal.
It's just they think differently than you do, and that's a good thing. That's the kind of diversity we want in the workplace, because you need diversity of thought to get to good outcomes.
Yeah, and if you let me, I would like to tell a little short story
Go for
about
it.
someone that with her I learned about thinking differently. So I was in a team in a startup. It was in the squad type. Like for example, if you someone here that is listening is reading or read Inspired of Marty Kagan, they know about these squads teams. So we were in a squad. It was the biggest squad in the startup. We were like 10 people. Yes, 10 people. And it was a developer, a woman. Today we are friends. We have a very special relationship because we were in a meeting. I was presenting them. I was showing them the objectives for next quarter, and she said, "Yeah, we were in a meeting in Google Meet and in the in this type." And she raised her hand, no, and she says, "Okay, but I am not agree. I don't agree with you. This will not be good." Like I was okay, what happened? And she explained to me that it was not good because of this, and she gave me a lot of examples to 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 show uh, her point of view. So I in that way I started to learn about that. And this is a this story is for this. When you think differently, not in your team, and you as a product manager or product leader with your stakeholders, for example, chief product officer, VP of product, you think differently, but you have to give some weight to that. You can't just say, okay, I'm not agree with this. And all that. No, finish meeting. No, explain, give your thoughts, give your experience, give your history, because maybe we as leaders, we are not seeing something that they are seeing. So that is embracing the different thoughts.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it goes back to your original point, right? If you have that personal relationship and you know that like outside of work, you get along and you understand each other and you know that you're people, right, with actual lives, then it makes you more comfortable to speak up in those scenarios where you do disagree because you're really all as a team just trying to get to the right outcome, right? In most times when people push back, it's not for political reasons or because they don't like you. It's just because they want to get to the right outcome and they think you're going about it incorrectly. So I completely agree with that. One of my favorite quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, I think I told you this when we talked before, is
Yeah,
every person is superior to me in some way, and in that way, I should like to learn from them. And I think that applies to what you're saying, right? Is that just because your title's greater or as a PM, we're the decision maker, right? It doesn't mean that we have the right answer. And it's our job to make sure we go get the right inputs to make the right decision, and those inputs come from everyone else that we work with. So I completely
yeah,
agree with that. That's awesome.
yeah. It's good, and it's also a benefit because when you have when you have to say something that is difficult, for example, that someone in your team is not performing well, yeah, that is the part we as PMs or product leaders we don't like to do. It's very difficult. But if you spend time knowing your people, the people in your team, it will be, I think, I am very optimistic in my personal life. So this is the way. I think it will be a little less difficult if you spend time knowing that people, because you will have another type of trust. No, you
Mhm.
can say the things in another way. So that is also good, because we as leaders, we also have to say when some people is not in the right track or is not performing well, because it affects all the team, other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Nico, this has been a great conversation, my friend. Before we go, what's some parting advice you would give to somebody listening and who may be thinking, I don't really have a good personal relationship with my coworkers. What would be advice you would give to them to get started?
Okay, this is an advice. Maybe the scrum masters will not like it. No, it's not, it's a joke, it's a joke. But in some teams I worked with, they were big teams, and we have a lot of things to talk. We implemented something that is called category. Yeah, we have the daily stand up, where everyone talk about what they did, what they will do, and if they had a blocker. So we started to, when to not lot to for not losing time, the people, when they finish to tell about what they do, they say something that it was previously selected in a category. For example, what is your favorite horror movie, for example, or what is your favorite romantic book? So, for example, me, I would say, yesterday I do this, today I will do this, and for example, Love and Prejudice, and the next people start. Maybe it's something very, very, very small, but start with this, to know the people, and to, like we said in this episode, to know them, to spend time with them, will help you in the future to bring, for example, more objectives that are bigger, or they are seemingly more difficult for the team.
Yeah, no, I love that, and it's such a small way to get started, and so I love that advice where in daily stand up you just learn something about someone, just one thing new every day that you learn about them,
A little
and
fact, just a little
yeah,
fact.
yeah,
Exactly.
and that opens up other conversations you can have. Oh, your favorite horror movie is this. I watched that. What was your favorite part? And then you start having these nice segues into personal conversations that lead to more personal relationships, friendships at work. So I think that's great advice. Well,
Thanks, John.
Nico, I appreciate you coming on, man. I love learning from everyone I get to speak to. I've loved our conversations and this one today. So thanks for joining me, and I appreciate you sharing.
Thanks for this opportunity. For me, it was very important, and it was a great talk. Bye, John.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube channel. If you're watching or if you're listening on the podcast, make sure that you rate and review and subscribe or follow if you haven't already. And thanks for joining me this week, and we'll see you next week for another lesson in product management.